So let's discuss about management or treatment and prognosis of cerebral venous thrombosis. Cerebral venous thrombosis. So we give antithrombotic, and our aim is to recanalize occluded sinus vein, prevent propagation of thrombus, okay, namely to the bridging cerebral veins, and treat underlying prothrombotic state. In order to prevent venous thrombosis in other parts of the body, particularly pulmonary embolism, and to prevent recurrence of cerebral venous thrombosis. So we give anticoagulation, and we recommend low molecular weight heparin or intravenous heparin for adults with symptomatic CVT. Low molecular weight heparin, subcutaneous, or IV heparin who have no contraindications, we give this. The presence of hemorrhagic venous infarction, intracerebral hemorrhage, or isolated subarachnoid hemorrhage are not contraindications for anticoagulation treatment in CVT. So if you see, if there is intracerebral hemorrhage, or if there is hemorrhagic venous infarction, or subarachnoid hemorrhage, despite that you give heparin. Okay, so these are not contraindications for giving heparin, so you should note that. And we prefer subcutaneous low molecular weight heparin unless the patient is clinically unstable or invasive interventions such as LP or surgery are planned, or there is contraindication to low molecular weight heparin such as renal failure. Renal failure is contraindication to use of low molecular weight heparin. Okay, and treatment for children during acute phase is similar to adults. Okay, same treatment. We give heparin, and other modalities like fibrinolysis, surgical thrombectomy are reserved for patients who do not respond to this heparin. Okay, so let's discuss more in detail what is the guideline about this. Consensus guidelines support the use of anticoagulation for acute treatment of CVT in adults and children. 2017 European Stroke Organization guidelines for diagnosis and treatment of cerebral venous thrombosis recommend heparin at therapeutic dose to treat adult patients with acute CVT, including those with intracerebral hemorrhage at baseline. What I have already told you. Okay, this is the guideline. There are many other guidelines, and for children with CVT but without significant intracerebral hemorrhage, ACCP recommends initial anticoagulation with unfractionated heparin or low molecular weight heparin, and followed by low molecular weight heparin or vitamin K antagonist treatment, warfarin. Okay, for a minimum of 3 months. Anticoagulation for additional 3 months is suggested if there is still cerebral venous occlusion or ongoing symptoms. Latter presumably meaning new venous infarcts or increased ICP after 3 months of therapy. So we generally give at least 3 month therapy, and if it is still there are signs of occlusion, we extend the duration to 3 more months. Okay, and other treatment like symptomatic management, like for example for elevated ICP we give mannitol to prevent herniation. Okay, so we do other conservative management, and if there is seizures, we give anti-epileptic. Okay, anti-epileptic for patients with CBT who have both seizure and focal cerebral supratentorial lesions such as edema or infarction and admission, head CT or MRI, brain MRI lesions, then seizure prophylaxis with anti-epileptic is recommended. In patients with CBT, recurrent seizures are more likely to develop in those who present with seizures and in those with supratentorial brain lesions, focal edema or ischemic or hemorrhagic infarcts on admission brain imaging. Young children with CBT may have higher frequency of seizures than older children or adults. Okay, so management after the acute phase. So we treat with heparin in the acute phase, and how do we manage afterwards? For long-term anticoagulation, the aim of long continuing anticoagulation after acute phase is to prevent CBT recurrence, which affects 2 to 7% of patients, and to prevent extracerebral venous thrombosis, which occurs in up to 5% of patients with CBT, mainly from deep vein thrombosis of limbs or pelvis and or pulmonary embolism. So both heparin and dabigatran appear to have similar dabigatran or heparin. These have similar effectiveness and safety for preventing recurrent CBT and other forms of venous thromboembolism in patients with CBT. For most adults, we suggest anticoagulation with warfarin or dabigatran for a minimum of 3 months duration after acute phase. Dabigatran may be preferable for most patients based on upon its lower burden of blood monitoring and dose adjustment, fewer drug interactions, and lack of dietary restriction when compared with warfarin. When warfarin is used, the dose should be adjusted to INR 2.5. INR 2.5 acceptable range is 2 to 3. Support for this approach comes from multi-center open-label RESPECT CBT trial, which randomly assigned 120 patients with CBT of mild to moderate severity to dabigatran and dabigatran or warfarin for a period of 24 weeks. Patients with coma, major trauma, CNS infections, or active cancer were excluded. During the study period, there were no recurrent venous thromboembolic events in either the treatment group. Major bleeding was limited to intestinal bleeding in one patient assigned to dabigatran and subdural hemorrhage in 2 patients assigned to warfarin. And for special populations, we approach differently. Like for example, let's say malignant. If patient has malignancy, who require long-term anticoagulation and who do not have renal insufficiency, then we prefer low molecular weight heparin rather than oral vitamin K antagonist or direct oral anticoagulant, but oral anticoagulants is preferred over no therapy. And for renal insufficiency, these patients should not receive DOAC. Vitamin K antagonist is preferred, so we give vitamin K antagonist like warfarin orally. And for pregnant patients who require long-term anticoagulation during pregnancy, with the exception of patients with mechanical heart valves, heparin are safer than other oral coagulants. Warfarin and DOACs are contraindicated. Warfarin and direct oral anticoagulants are contraindicated. Duration of anticoagulation. For after acute phase of CBT, we suggest continuing anticoagulation for a minimum period of 3 months. However, there is no definitive evidence regarding the optimal duration of anticoagulation therapy, specifically for reducing the risk of CBT. A reasonable approach is to stratify the duration of anticoagulant therapy according to individual prothrombotic risk. For individuals with provoked CBT, associated with transient risk factor, we continue till 3 to 6 months. For patients with unprovoked CVT, anticoagulation for 6 to 12 months. And for patients with recurrent CVT, venous thromboembolism after CVT or a first CVT with severe thrombophilia, anticoagulation may be continued indefinitely. Okay. And let's talk about aspirin. Do you use aspirin? Aspirin or other antiplatelet agents have not been evaluated. Antiplatelet not evaluated in controlled trials or observational studies, and current guidelines makes no recommendations about aspirin in this setting. Okay. For seizure prevention, the optimal duration of anti-epileptic treatment after CVT is unknown. However, the risk of epilepsy after CVT ranges from epilepsy after CVT ranges from 5 to 11% of patients, and the risk is higher in those with seizures in the acute phase or with hemorrhagic parenchymal lesions. For patients with CVT and associated parenchymal brain lesions who present with one or more seizure, anti-seizure drugs should be continued until seizure-free for a definite period, like 1 year. Headache severe enough to require bed rest or hospital admission afflict 40% of patients with CVT. Repeated brain MRI and MRV are necessary to exclude rare cases of recurrent CVT. Okay, so MRV may depict stenosis of previously occluded sinus. Lumbar puncture may be necessary. Lumbar puncture may be necessary to exclude chronically elevated ICP. Chronically elevated ICP if headache persists and brain MRI and MRV are normal. In such cases, therapeutic options to treat ICP include acetazolamide or furosemide if patient can't tolerate acetazolamide. And severe visual loss due to CVT is fortunately a rare event. Nevertheless, elevated ICP must be rapidly ruled out and managed accordingly if visual acuity decreases during follow-up and is not explained by ocular causes. It is reasonable to treat with low molecular heparin during pregnancy and purpurium for women with previous history of CVT to reduce the risk of recurrent CVT and other venous thromboembolic events. In the United States, some clinicians treat with intravenous unfractionated heparin or low molecular weight heparin during late third trimester and or up to 8 weeks or up to 8 weeks postpartum. Okay. So about oral contraceptive, since it is a risk factor, should be informed. Women should be informed about the risk of combined hormonal contraception and advise against its use. Okay, and let's talk about now prognosis. CVT can result in death or permanent disability, but usually has favorable prognosis. Early deterioration and death. Early deterioration and death. 5% of patients die in acute phase of disorder. Most patients of the early deaths are consequence of CVT. Predictors of mortality at 30 days in international study on cerebral vein and dural sinus thrombosis were depressed consciousness, altered mental status, thrombosis of deep vein system, and right hemisphere hemorrhage, posterior fossa lesion. Early mortality in children with CVT is similar to that in adults. Okay. In a European cohort of 396 children with CVT, death in first 2 weeks after presentation occurred in 12%. 12 patients. I mean to say that 3%. The main causes of death with CVT is transtentorial herniation. Transtentorial herniation. If you don't know about this type brain herniation, you can watch my another video in which I have discussed different types of brain herniation. And this transtentorial herniation may occur secondary to large hemorrhagic lesions. Other causes of early death include herniation due to multiple lesions or due to diffuse brain edemas, status epilepticus, medical complications, and pulmonary embolism. Neurological deterioration in the acute phase of CVT occurs in approximately 23%. Worsening may occur several days after admission. Symptoms and signs may include depressed consciousness, mental status disturbance, and progression of focal deficit, development of new focal deficit, increase in headache intensity or visual loss. About 1/3 of patients with neurological deterioration will show new parenchymal lesions if neuroimaging is repeated. Patients with depressed consciousness on admission are more likely to deteriorate. Seizures are more likely to recur in those with seizures at onset and to occur de novo in patients with parenchymal lesions. And let's talk about long-term outcome. Long-term outcome. Mortality after the acute phase of CVT is predominantly related to underlying conditions. The main ICVT cohort report performed a meta-analysis of 7 prospective studies, including the large ICCVT itself, found that acute CVT was associated with 15% overall death or dependency rate at the end of follow-up, which varied from 3 to 78 months. I am again repeating it. These results of meta-analysis of 7 prospective studies. Acute CVT was associated with 15% overall death. 15% overall death or dependency rate at the end of follow-up period, which varied from 3 to 78 months. Predictors of poor long-term prognosis in ICVT were CNS infection, any malignancy, and thrombosis of deep venous system. Hemorrhage on head CT or MRI. GCS less than 9 admission. Mental status abnormality, and age greater than 37 years. Male gender. These are predictors of poor long-term pregnancy. Okay, well, I mean to say that poor long-term prognosis in ICCVT study. And this about now let's talk about recurrence of recurrent CVT. Risk of recurrent CVT is approximately 2 to 4%, while the risk of recurrent venous thromboembolism in other locations after CVT ranges from 4 to 7%. Okay, these are shown by different studies. I won't cite the names of those studies because this video will be too long. And most patients with CVT achieve some degree of cerebral vein and sinus recanalization. And in one meta-analysis that was mostly a retrospective study that reported recanalization rates for adult patients in CVT who were treated with anticoagulation. The overall recanalization rate was 85% among 818 patients who received follow-up on imaging, with partial recanalization achieved by 35% and complete recanalization achieved by 49% of patients. In few studies with available data, recanalization rate increased with time, and approximately 3/4 of patients had achieved recanalization at 3 months. Positive predictors of recanalization were thrombosis of superior sagittal sinus, female sex. Okay. Negative predictors of recanalization were multiple thrombosis, hormonal therapy, older age, a lack of identified risk factors for CVT. The meta-analysis also found that recanalization was associated with functional recovery. Okay, so now let's summarize what so far we have discussed. For adults with symptomatic cerebral venous thrombosis, symptomatic with or without hemorrhagic venous infarction, we recommend initial anticoagulation with subcutaneous low molecular weight heparin or intravenous heparin. Okay, measures to control acutely increased ICP and impending herniation, including decompressive surgery, may be required in patients with CVT. For patients who have seizures at presentation and focal cerebral supratentorial lesions, edema, infection or hemorrhage and admission CT or MRI, we recommend seizure prophylaxis with anti-epileptic drugs. Anti-epileptic prophylaxis is not clearly required for those with single early symptomatic seizure due to CVT in absence of supratentorial cerebral lesions, as there is often no seizure recurrence. Furthermore, seizure prophylaxis is not clearly required for patients who have focal cerebral lesions without seizures. Okay. After acute phase of CVT, we suggest anticoagulation for most patients with dabigatran or warfarin for a minimum of 3 months. Exceptions include patients with comorbid malignancy, for whom low molecular weight heparin is preferred, or renal insufficiency for whom warfarin is preferred, and women who are pregnant for whom heparin is preferred. It is reasonable to stratify the duration of anticoagulation after acute phase of CVT according to individual prothrombotic risk, continuing anticoagulation for 3 to 6 months for patients with provoked CVT associated with transient risk factor, and 6 to 12 months for patients with unprovoked CVT. Indefinite oral anticoagulation is reserved for patients with recurrent CVT, extracerebral venous thromboembolism after CVT, or associated severe thrombophilia. Okay, anti-epileptics, drug management, headache, visual loss, and cognitive and psychiatric complications are additional problems that may complicate the acute phase of CVT. For pregnant women with history of CVT, we suggest temporary anticoagulation with subcutaneous low molecular weight heparin